Welcome to the Cultivation Podcast. I am your host, Tom Hamill, and this week we've got an incredible show topic guest, as this season is all about the guests that we're having. And this cat that I'm about to introduce you to, man, we first met back in like 2012, 2013, somewhere around there, and we've worked events together, we've hung out together, all kinds of things, collaborated on projects together, and I'm super pumped to introduce to you my friend. He's got two names, a real name and then a stage name, but my friend Bobby Duran, also known aka as Bobbitothechef for his DJ stage name. Welcome to the Cultivation Podcast. Thanks for being on today.
What's happening, Tom? Thanks for having me, man. I'm so excited. You're looking good, man. Looking good in the red glasses. I like it.
Yeah, the red glasses, right? You know what? I have my wife tells me that I got problems, right? So I used to collect Converse shoes, and I have a large collection of those, more than I care to admit. And the truth be told, I have more shoes than my wife has. I know that ladies get a rap for that, like, you know, buying all their shoes, but I got more. But then I shifted, and now I've got all these glasses, and to be honest with you, they're not just for looks. I actually need them. I can't see you without them, so they're not just an accessory.
I feel you. Sometimes I need mine as well, just to make sure I'm reading the right thing or saying the right thing.
I got you. Let me just talk about who you are, why we have you on the show. Bobbitothechef, sought after DJ in Los Angeles, and you put in your bio, because I asked you about this, Los Angeles. You do way more than LA, bro. You're way more than that. I see you all over the place.
Yeah.
Producing events, right? I know you're like an event producer, specializing in corporate events, parties, national conferences, some big stuff, which we're going to talk about here in just a little bit.
Yeah.
And definitely, you know, you're a connector. You know, I see you connecting relationships, building those things. And so, again, huge friend of mine. I'm also a huge fan. So if I fanboy on you right now, I don't mean to, but also love your work. Following you on Instagram. We're going to talk about how to do all that stuff, because you guys right now, as we are in this kind of COVID-19 lockdown quarantine, you and your group, your crew of DJs have done some incredible stuff. And I love it. I love the creativity and really just kind of forced to do things on another level. But
thanks, Tom.
Yeah. So tell me, I did a horrible job introducing you with your bio.
No, you did great.
Yeah.
You did great.
Tell me, I'm going to force you to do this. So I'm asking, you're not bragging. I'm asking, like, tell me some of your biggest shows, the things that you do, what you're all about.
Well, yeah, man, Tom, it's just been an awesome journey. Like, currently, it's been a little bit of a game changer, where the entire world that I function in is completely shut down. And, you know, the stress of just figuring out, like, okay, without this world that I work in or get to play in, who am I? Is that all I am? Or do I have to like force myself to like figure things out? And so I think with that, as I look back at some of the events I've done and some of the lanes I've got to play in and so forth, I mean, it's been anywhere from the corporate world to doing Chick-fil-A event, getting the DJ for Dave Ramsey, Nike, Tom Shoes, like, you know, that side of things. And then some of the biggest leadership conferences that are out there, from Catalyst to Total Money Makeover to all these different things that I've been able to do, has just been a true gift. I mean, it's just like, who would imagine that, you know, a DJ would be needed in some of these areas, you know? But I think I have a friend who mentioned to me recently, he said, man, a DJ just makes everything better, whether you like it or not. Like, you roll into a department store, you hear some music, a DJ, oh, I'm going to shop this way. Or you're out eating somewhere and you hear a DJ or music, and it's like, it just changes your complete environment. And my hope is to create Sabbath for people in whatever environment they walk in. So whether if I'm on the production side, I want to create an experience for them when they walk in, they just feel comfortable and great to be there. Or the DJ side, take people back, maybe play some songs that they remember as a kid, or something that they like right now.
Yeah.
But I have this.
My favorite is when you do both. Like,
Thanks.
man, you do some stuff that, first of all, when it comes to my musical talent, I can play the radio. So like like that's it right there. But there's times where I'm at one of your shows and it's like, hey, this is familiar and new all at the same time. Like I don't know how you do that, or how you have an ear for that or a mind for that. It just your mind moves at a different beat than mine. So
Yeah, I know. Like it's weird how sometimes when people function. There's people that function with numbers, like they think of numbers and they function a certain way. Uh, there's people that function with food or measurements or science of cooking something. But it's weird. I function with music. Like when I hear music, like I instantly think of who that is and what it does. And ooh, if that you played that with this, that would sound good. Or you mash these two together, or you know. So it's just weird how that happens sometimes. I don't know. Um, is there people that do it better than me? Yes. Is there people that I'm still trying to learn from and be um, just craft that skill? Yes. I think Tom, the best thing we can do as leaders is continue to be learners. Like
yeah,
the
that's
moment
good.
we stop willing to learn and the moment we stop willing to learn from other people or put yourself in a position where it's like, okay, cool, like I'm at this place, but I know that there's someone practicing 10 times harder than me, or someone over here who's doing what they do, but also running in this lane to be successful. Like you have to, you have to continue to craft your skill. And I think even more so now in this pandemic and all this crazy months that we've had, like people are trying to figure out new things, new skills, and like, what can I do to like change the norm? Like, what am I doing now that I wouldn't have done 3 or 5 months ago
Yeah.
because of where we're at now? And so I think that's something to really consider.
I think obviously I'm going to use some generic terms here.
Yeah.
If they're offensive, I don't mean to be, but obviously the world that you live in is kind of the gig world, right? You're
Right.
kind of going from gig to gig, which is true. Like even for musicians, artists, which I'd put you into that category,
I appreciate
because
it.
even if you're not necessarily creating original, like you made that the way that you put them together is like fresh and it's like renewed, right? You're a
Right.
revivalist of music in a way that just like makes it come alive and meaningful in a whole new way. And so that's an art all in its own that I certainly don't have the ability to do. But where it translates is, maybe there's some people who they're not in the music world, they're not in the gig world, but they're commissioned world,
Right.
right? There's a lot of industries right now, particularly as we're dealing with this COVID-19 stuff, that gig world, commission world, like all that well's dried up, and now you're having to ask yourself, well, who am I? How do
Right.
I what do I have that's marketable or sellable or contributable? If that's a word,
Hey,
maybe I
it,
just
it's
to
a word today, Tom. It's a word today.
it's a word today. Yeah. Like what do I have to contribute that,
Exactly.
and not that life is about money. I certainly think life is about way more things than money, but the truth is I still got to put food on my table, right? I
Right.
still got to put a roof over my kid's head. So so while my life is not about the pursuit of money, I can't devalue that I need money,
Right.
to take care of some things. And so, that whole idea of pivoting is just we have to stay creative and
Totally.
innovative, right?
Right.
And the only way to do that is to continually be a learner
Right.
about what you have and who you are, that sort of thing. Did you always know that you were going to be a DJ doing what you do? I mean, you're so much more than a DJ. You're so much more than that. I mean, I just know that even the way, and I don't mean this as a selfish way, but the way we've leveraged our relationship into other spheres
Right.
and things, right? That like you're so much more than a DJ. You've been a huge connector to other skill set, other talent, other people that are out there that have helped me do
Right.
stuff. So you're more than that. But did you always just see yourself doing what you're doing right now? Does it always look like that for you?
No, not at all. Like I knew that there was some commonalities of maybe what I would do, but I think what was most important for me, Tom, was cultivating relationships with people.
Mm,
And like every event that I've gotten to do, like I find value in the relationship. Like finding value in the relationship it would mean it would go deeper than that. And so I think there's one way we can look at it, whether you're, in sales, business, or, entrepreneur, small business owner. DJing is one thing. That's just my lane. But I know that there's could be a lot of lanes out there that people are listening to. I think what's most important is that not to look at it just as a job or a gig, but more of an opportunity to build a relationship with. Because I think what happens is once you build a relationship with, in the future, things may come back for your business. Things may come back for a project to work on, to manage, and with that, like for some of us, maybe it's a commission, maybe it's being a connector and you refer other people and you can make a living off of doing that. So I think there's some opportunities that we need to really like consider and look in, but I think relationships are key. Like, I don't think people value that a lot. And so I think when you have that value of relationship, when you say, hey, I have a friend, Tom Hamill over here, and he's doing this, let me introduce you to this person. The person that I'm going to bring into that circle is probably going to trust me way more than someone who's just a cold call or just looking for a gig opportunity, because that's what I was hired to do. So I think that's super important, super critical. And the opportunity is just endless for it. And you asked the question, did I ever see myself doing this? I'm like, maybe not. I started doing a lot of event production stuff. I started DJing, then I went into the world of event production stuff. Then I found myself on both sides. I would get hired for events to produce, and then I would hire my other DJ friends, or I got hired to DJ the event and brought in some of my other friends to be a part of that event. So it was really cool how it all played out. I'm super grateful. Am I still learning? Yes. Do I feel like I failed? Yes. There's been so many times I failed.
Oh,
But I
I want
think
to hear
I've
about that.
learned.
I want to hear some of your biggest failures, because I love the nitty gritty, right?
Man, biggest failures was I thought I knew it all. Like super arrogant, thought I knew it all, didn't like constructive criticism at all. Still working through my pain of that, because sometimes where we've crafted our gift so hard, so much time, so much, dedication, all these things, we feel like, man, we've got to this point. Like, I have success. I have this. I have a family. I'm doing this. I'm doing this. I'm doing pretty good. But, it's the moments that we are willing to be most vulnerable with ourselves is like, yeah, I failed. Like, I failed on relationships. I failed on not keeping commitments to like projects and stuff that I said I would do and I didn't do. And, maybe I lost a project, or I didn't get back to someone right away and they moved on and booked someone else, like those are like moments where it totally like chisels me away. Like, I failed. That was me. But it's almost like, I don't know if anybody out there listening, as it relates to this, but when we fail on a project, like, I take it super critical, and then it becomes like me. And then I become totally like, oh, am I good enough? Who am I? Like, come self-conscious. I come this, I come that, anxiety builds in, all these things. And it's just like, because we failed as leaders, we failed to like follow through. And so I think some of those times as business leaders and business owners, like following through an email, getting it right back away, or just getting back to, partners or customers that you're working with is like super crucial. Like, it
How do
sounds
you,
so easy,
yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
like, we all fail. Like, I've done some big fails, man, and
How
it's
do
costed
you,
me.
I'm sure that there are people watching, listening. We talk about failures a lot in the Cultivation podcast, because I happen to think, one, failure is more common than we think, because everybody has them. I mean, it literally is the common denominator of every human experience
Right.
is failure, right?
Totally.
No matter who the most successful person is, no matter who's the most notorietable, the wealthiest person on the planet, failure is the common denominator for all of us. There's a lot of people that feel stuck in their failure. So I just want
Right.
to kind of ask you, how do you rebound? What's kind of the steps or the cycle that you go through to kind of rebound and grow out of a failure? And I didn't
Yeah.
prep you for that question, so you
No,
might be like, whoa, how do I
no,
answer
no,
that?
no,
But
no. I think two things. I think right now we're in this current uh, state of just being amateurs. Like, this is my first pandemic ever, maybe your first pandemic ever. We both have kids, Tom, so it's affected a whole world that we did not see coming. Like, you couldn't plan for this.
yeah.
So one is, in our failures, like right now, we need to extend grace. Like, we have to be okay with failing, because there's no plan. There's no plan for this virus. There's no plan for anything right now. It's just out there. And so I think in this current stage where we're at, listeners, business owners, people, we need to have grace. We need to have understanding. There's definitely a time to like enforce what something like people, if you're running a business or someone's like, hey, you're supposed to be doing this, but we're amateurs, right? But I think how I get out of it is that I really, really have to like psychologically, spiritually, and mentally like prepare myself out of it, because sometimes like I really want to be really great at something, and maybe I didn't put the work in that I should have and I knew it, or maybe I have put the work in, but I feel like when I fail, it really just like irks my soul. And it's
Yeah.
not because it's my reputation of like, what's everyone going to think of me, or am I going to lose all this? It's like, because I care. I care about being excellent in what we do, whether you're a DJ, whether you're a realtor, whether you're a small business owner, or what you're doing. I think it has to come down to, it matters most because it's super important to me, not just what people think of me, but because like I am called to do this business. I am called to be on this journey. And when we fail, it feels like the end of the world sometimes, but we
Yeah.
have to get back on it. So I really have to prepare myself. I really have to like psychologically say, you're more than just a DJ. You're more than just a business owner. Like, you have been crafted and created to do something greater than you thought. And
Yeah.
so if we
That's
can
so
have that
good.
mentality, it's like, come on, you know?
I one thing I find fascinating about all of this, you kind of alluded to it.
Hmm.
I feel like the feeling of success lasts shorter than the feeling of failure, right? Like,
Yeah.
honestly, if you were to take an inventory of my life based off my memory, I could probably point out more of my failures from an emotional tie standpoint than I could
Yeah.
my successes, because boom, I hit a finish line. Woo, we did it, great. Whether I hit a record crowd, or I accomplished a certain physical feat, or whatever it is. It's like,
Right.
okay, that
Right.
was great, but boom, I remember that sense of failure. It's way more intimate. It's way more closer, and that feeling of failure lasts. It lingers so much
Right.
longer than even the feeling of success. It's funny that we're all kind of on our own pursuit of success in some
Yeah.
form, fashion, that sort of thing. But it seems like we're so much more intimate with the feeling of failure than we are the feeling of success, even though success is what we're chasing after.
Right. I
It's
think
just,
one more thing I thought of when you
mhm,
asked me that question, how do we get out of it? I think for myself, Tom, what I've done is I've first forced myself, because I had to like learn how to do it. But the second thing is that I always try to surround myself with people who are greater at what I do.
mm,
And some people, for some of us, that might be really humbling, because it's like you got this young kid who's teaching you crazy stuff, right? What happens? We go on YouTube to learn how to tighten something or do this, and it's like some 9-year-old telling you how to do it, and you're just like, oh God, like, okay, like I'm a failure. But I think in my, like with my DJ friends or people I work with in production, like I always try to surround myself, not just for relationship wise, friendship wise, but to just continue to learn from them. And I feel like when you learn with people who are greater than you, it only challenges you to be yourself, to be greater. It only, you know, increases more of like how we do all this. Like if I can give just a quick synopsis of what's happening in this world. So the
yeah.
pandemic, no conferences, no restaurants, no clubs, no nothing right now where DJs could be with large crowds of people, right? For all of us that, I was talking to so many friends, like they completely shut down Vegas. They're done for the year. Contracts they had are out the window. People that were committed to conferences, people that were so everything that was forecasted for people who make a living doing this, it's gone. People that are touring, gone. Some people tour and support their family. Some people are doing certain things, right? So all this is gone. So what it's done is it's forced us as people to like figure this out. So I got together with a crew of guys and we started DJing live on Instagram, live on this, live on that. In a world that I didn't know, Tom, like there's this Twitch, there's
Yeah.
Restream, there's this, and so like I was super uncomfortable. I was like, forget it. It was because I didn't know how to do it. So now I'm like, like my son's telling me all this stuff, and I'm like, how do you know this? I was like, Dad, this has like been around for a while. I'm like, oh, so it's like super like ground shaking and like rattling your cage a little bit.
Yeah.
But at the same time too, it's forcing me to do something that's going to sharpen me, that might be like connecting with more people. And it's just been really great. Like I've been DJing live and people have been tipping me on, and it's been a constant battle because Instagram has copyright stuff. And so that you get shut down, you go back on and people come on. But like with that money, Tom, like I'm gonna go buy me some groceries right now. I'm gonna
Yeah.
go try and pay a bill right now. And my wife, she's a nurse and holding it down for us right now. She works at the hospital in this crazy time. And this is kind of where we're at. And so if you don't have the skills of adaptability, or you don't have the skills of other things, like, you have to like look at it and be like, it's okay to be amateurs right now, because we just don't know.
Yeah.
But we have to grow through this. We have to grow. And if we don't change, and something's not different after this pandemic, there's something truly wrong with us, who we are as a leader and who we are in our hearts.
There are times where when you cross a certain thresh point in your life, you realize there is no going back. I know that right now in this time, a
Right.
lot of people are trying to go back to normal, and I'm thinking, then if you're trying to go back to normal, you failed to seize an opportunity to
Right.
grow through this season, or grow through this moment or this issue, right? Because then you go, oh, now that I'm doing this,
Right.
now that I've discovered these things, and my teenagers teach me new stuff all the time, because I have two teenage girls in my house, so
Yeah.
pray for me that way. But
Yeah, man.
there is no going. There is no back to normal. This is my new normal. This is my new base, if you will, baseline of what life is like, whether that's remote or that sort of thing. So that whole adaptability is so key. And
Yeah.
what you just did, talking through that, I had like 5 questions lined up, and you just
Yeah.
like bing bing bing, you just checked them all off, right?
Let's do
You're
it.
like,
Let's do it.
because I'm like, how is this different than you ever imagined? You're like, now I'm on these platforms, right?
Yeah.
That sort of thing. So I love it. I love it. Let me ask you this question,
Yeah.
because we've talked about this before, just over lunch. I think we were eating some burgers together, with no buns, as
Yeah.
we're both watching those carb intakes, that
That's
sort of
right.
thing. But um, uh, how what's the journey? What's the process? If you could give us any insight into saying, hey, how can I find something, gift, talent, purpose inside of me that someone would pay for? Like, if I have a dream to launch a project or a
Right.
business or a company, whatever it is, in your case, music production, that sort of thing. But if somebody's listening and you're like, okay, how do I discover that I got something sellable?
Yeah.
And we've talked about intellectual property and these
Right.
kinds of things, but what does that look like? What's that journey? What's some keys that we can give some people to start exploring, to
Shoot.
lean into those dreams?
To be completely honest with you, is like, I am still on that journey too, like trying to figure this out. But I think if you have something that you love, and I think part of it is one thing that I've learned in this last year, is that, you always, like, especially out here in California and maybe other states, whoever's tuning in, we always talk about this side hustle. Like, I do this, but I do this on the side.
Mm-hmm.
I work here, but I've been working here on the side. And so sometimes that side project is actually the true fun stuff you really want to be doing, rather than the job you're doing here. And so I think, you know, reshifting your mind and saying, hey, I work 2 jobs. Oh, really? What do you do? Well, I do this and I do this. Because when you stop saying I do this on the side, it sounds like it's second step, sounds like secondary. But I think all of us know that the side job is the job we really want to be doing, right? And so what we want to do is take our side hustle, right? Because that's what we're most passionate about,
Right.
and shift that into career. So taking our side hustle and shifting it to career. And I think if we can start doing that, then you could start developing, like, well, hey, there's avenues. If I do photography, or if I do editing, or if I do this, or if I'm really good at design, I'm really good at this, but I work this job because it pays the bills. That's okay to do both. When you feel led and ready to quit this one to focus on this one, or it's a career shift change, like that, that's going to be up to you. But I think that's the mentality of, like, stop saying I do this on the side and saying I have 2 jobs. I do this and I do this, because
Yeah.
mentally it's going to make you think different, and it's going to make you, just as a business person, like, wow, this person has 2 jobs. That's pretty great. He does this and this. Okay. Well, let's talk more about that, because
Are there
side
any
side sounds
indicators?
downplayed.
Yeah, sure it does. Yep. Yeah, this is my side hustle,
Right.
and
Right.
there's a lot of people that have that. But are there any indicators or parameters that people should look for in their life to go, when does the side hustle, when do we start making that shift into being the main hustle? Like,
Yeah.
when do we go from it's a hobby to it's a
Right.
source, right? You know, that
Mhm.
sort of thing. Or is there any commonality as to when somebody should go take that leap of faith, if you will, and go pursue that now? You've played around with it long enough. You've built, you've built a little bit of some side income and some play
Right.
money, but now go make it your main source. Like, what what are the steps? Obviously, you don't do that starting off,
Right. Right.
right? You know, so what does that
No.
look like? What kind of coaching, leadership advice can you give us on that journey?
Well, I think it looks different for everyone. Everyone's different situation is different because, like, I have a friend that works at a church, is killer at video, and he also runs a huge company on the side. But he works at his church because that's where he gets his benefits from, And
Sure.
to like have to go out and spend that money to launch business, and to run a business. There's so many different things too that you have to just be aware of: insurances, this, that, what's covered, this equipment, this, that, and then as a small business you have to spend so much money a year to write it off, and
Yeah.
there's so many things that you just don't sometimes look at. But what I'll say is that, like, when you come to a point where there's an opportunity for you to fully step in, fearful, unknown, scared out of your mind, but the opportunity is there because it's what you feel called to. I think that's a great opportunity to
Yeah.
do it,
That's good.
and sometimes we don't have it all figured out, and sometimes we have highs and low seasons of where it's like we have some really great months, and then other months we're just super quiet and we're just trying to figure out, like, okay, let's just get through this month and see how it goes, but to have the, like, perfect formula, Tom, of what you're asking me, I don't think I have that. I think because I'm in that right now,
Yeah,
so I'm
sure.
learning it too. But I think if the opportunity is there, like, I worked for an organization for 15 years, right? Doing production, doing all these things. And then I came to a place where, like, I just I just got to this place where I was just like, one, I'm not going to go any higher in this company. Two, they're cutting some of the things that I really like doing. And three, I'm going to have to, like, reinvent myself just in order to stay here, right?
Gotcha.
So what it forced me to do, and the opportunity that was just due, is like, okay, let's look at this. You love doing this. You have made some money and success and supported your family doing this. Now, can you do that full time? And so it forced me to just come to that part. Was I scared? Yeah. I was like, I don't have the perfect business plan, but I have some ideas of how to do it. And,
Sure.
here we are, so I've been doing that almost for 3 years now, and
Awesome.
just been self-employed and running my business and DJing, production and consulting stuff. So it's
I think
been great.
one thing that I try to communicate to a lot of people is we need to redefine what is success, because a lot of people have success as a finish line.
Right.
And
That's good.
what I'm trying to get people to cultivate is that success is really the process. Anytime I'm working the process, that is success,
Yeah.
because there is no finish line to success. There's always that next growth step that you're supposed to be. There's always, become, there's always that next adventure that you should be taking. And it may be even like what you're saying. If success is always climbing a ladder to a finish line, what happens when you reach the top? Are you just done with life?
Right.
I don't think you are, because you might peak early. You might,
Right.
climb through the ranks, whether it's in a tech industry, a teaching industry, whatever it is. You're like, okay, I'm at the top. Now what? Okay, well, you have to redefine success about more of celebrating the process than the destination,
Right.
because the destination isn't as glamorous as we had imagined.
Correct.
you know,
Correct.
I don't know if you've caught any of the Last Dance
Oh, yes.
episodes,
So
yeah,
good.
of Michael Jordan, which is like my era. I've been loving it, right?
Yeah.
And uh, really, by the time this episode is on, those shows are done. And if you didn't catch it, if you're watching or listening, if you didn't catch it, go back and watch all 10 episodes of The Last
Watch it.
Dance. It's incredible.
Yeah.
But there was something that he talked about in there that really struck a chord with me. When he was at the top of his game, the world's most renowned athlete at the time, right? Like
Right.
everywhere he was said, he's made this statement: if I had it to do over again, I would never sign up to be a role model
Mm.
or the hero, right? And I just
Right.
thought,
Right. Right.
wow, he had this idea of success. He went after that. He reached it, and he was like, it wasn't anything I thought, right?
Right.
And so for me, I'm like, there's a lesson that success is about the process and the
Mm-hmm.
progress and not the destination. So just really
Come on.
incredible
Preach,
stuff.
Tom.
Yeah, right,
Doing some
right.
preaching today. Come on. I
what
think,
what do you think?
yeah.
Go ahead. You
No,
go
no, I
ahead.
was
I
just
want you to
gonna
share.
just what you said. The process is always like the part that nobody gets to see. You know, the process is the part that, is behind the scenes. The process is the pain. The process is the heartbreak. The process is all of that. But I think when you talk about the success, yeah, you have to fail in order to become better. You have to learn, like right now in this time, I'm learning what matters most.
Mhm.
If you're in a pandemic, who would you want to be stuck at home with? You know, is this the right team that you would totally choose? And my wife is my ride or die, and my kids are like, I'm all that. So I think for me that travels a lot and busy, busy, busy. Like I'm learning what matters most is this, right? And then at the same time too, like what I thought mattered most wasn't what I mattered most, you know? And so I
Yeah.
think being able to slow down and be home, are some days harder than others? Yeah. Are some days great just to capture things? Yeah. But I think if we don't, I wouldn't have known that if we weren't in this crazy time of that. But with all that to say is part of how we come out of this is going to be it's successful because it's shaping you to be something that you maybe thought was overlooked or you never thought possible you could be in this time because we're all learning certain things about
Yeah.
ourselves, about who we're stuck with. you
Yeah.
know
I
so
got you.
yeah,
Let me ask one more question before we
yeah,
shift gears on this.
yeah.
What are, like, on this path to success, on this
Hmm.
road to success, right? As we're kind of redefining that, reshaping that, what are some roadblocks that either you've identified in yourself to getting there,
Hmm.
right? That you have to overcome this internal obstacle of, like, okay, blah, 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 or that either you've identified them in yourself, or to make it less personal, that you've seen in others where you go, oh, guys, gals, if you're on this journey towards becoming what you're meant to become and leaning into that side hustle, making it the main thing, your second job, that sort of thing, what are some roadblocks that you go, hey, watch out for these pitfalls in yourself, in your behavior, in your consistency?
Yeah.
um, know that they're a part of that and set up some structure to get around that. What are some of those roadblocks that you could name or think of?
Roblox, yeah, man. Shoot. Well, I think I've alluded to a couple things. So one was you don't know everything.
Mm,
Two is build yourself around people who are going to sharpen you because that's going to only help you be better. And, there's a lot of people I just call and I ask them, hey, what's your thoughts on this? I'm thinking about this and that. Like when I hit a roadblock or creativity or something. And I think the key thing is that sometimes hard for people is that allowing people to speak into your life.
mm,
Like I had some really great mentors who taught me a lot of things from DJing to production to tour managing to, all these different things, right? And so even though they may just apply in this certain lane, it also applies in life, you know? And I think for me, man, like when you talk about being a connector, uh, so here's how I get over my roadblocks. I will say this. I find complete energy is that when I can connect people to the right people they need to be connected with. And so what that does is it helps me understand like, cool, I can be used in this small moment to help other people get over their roadblocks, right?
mm,
And
yeah.
so for me, it just allows me to see my roadblocks clearer. It's weird when that happens, but roadblocks, man, like I had to learn how to ask people for help and help people for input, and constructive criticism was huge for me. And I think, as business leaders and as, entrepreneurs, like if we can't have that, we can't accept that, like we're just going to be stuck in the same roadblocks, looking at the same roadblocks. And then another thing too is that like sometimes roadblocks are good
Right.
because maybe there's a lane we're trying to play in that we shouldn't be playing in.
Mm,
Sometimes, you've heard the saying, yo man, stay in your lane,
yeah.
and it could be like, what? I'm trying to help. I'm trying to, but maybe stay in your lane is there is some truth component to it to say, hey, Bobby, this is what you do. This is what you're good at. This is what you're good at, here, stay in your lane. be good in your lane, like help others in your lane, connect others in your lane. Like, don't get caught off going over here because that's not what we've called you to do or called you to be, you know?
Yeah.
And
That's so good.
so,
That's so
yeah,
good. I hear you saying ultimately foundation of all of that is staying teachable, whether you're
yeah,
being teachable from your failures, teachable from mentors or people smarter than you that are just a little bit further ahead, or even teachable from the roadblocks that are there. What are they trying to teach you? And I love it. I love it. All right, last little segment of our
yeah.
show here, and then we're gonna wrap. What's your favorite tool or resource? What is it that you love? What's that?
Let's see. I love iCal because I
Okay.
can keep my life pretty much scheduled, you know, which is great. But I know
That's a
there's so many.
calendar tool.
It's a
That's a
calendar
calendar
tool.
tool.
I
Yeah,
love
yeah.
that because it helps me. I put reminders in there every day of when I need to do stuff. So
Yeah.
that helps me. But Tom, I've been really into like these short leadership videos I've been watching. You know, John Acuff, 30 Minutes with the Perrys, all these different things that are different topics, and I just like small nuggets. You know,
Yeah.
I think small nuggets are going to help us all become better leaders. Just small little things that we can take 8 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, just small things that we can take. And so that's been like super good for me in this time where we're in this time where everybody probably in the world is streaming something, right?
Yeah. Sure.
And so they're on their phones. They're all, so if you have an opportunity to, you know, maybe check out a good friend of mine, John Acuff, he gives like 8 minutes every day. Um, 30 Minutes with the Perrys, they talk about, you know, being married and all these different things, if you're married or not. But like some of these, or there's some other business ones I listen to, Dave Ramsey's podcast and some other things. So just, they may not apply to something that's in your career right now or something that's like, oh, I can't relate to that because they do this. Like, but there's always good nuggets to hear from people in their perspective and what the journey they're on, and it does relate in some point. So I think
Yeah.
those are great tools right now for me.
Okay. Next question. Awesome. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
What's a favorite book that you would recommend to the audience? What should we read?
Yeah. So there's a couple different books that I like, but there's one book in particular that I really enjoyed. It's called The Brand Gap. It's by an author named Mark, I think, Newmeyer. I think it's called like Newmeyer or something like that. But The Brand Gap was, I mean, it's a leadership book, I'll tell you, and it's an easy read. It's maybe like almost less than 200 pages. And that's good for me because like, if you're not a reader, you know, it's good for that, you know, but what
Yep.
it talked about was like having a business strategy, and then, but also was separate, having a marketing strategy. And it really focused on being true to your brand, right?
Yeah.
And staying in your lane and being who you are. And it talked about like, you know, as a company or as a business, be true to your brand and be who you as a company are called to be and move forward in that. Don't be who they want you to be who you were called to be. And I think a lot of companies like are good at this, but then they're like, oh, there's a need for that, so maybe we should do that. Oh, and there's a need for that, maybe we should do that. And oh, so like let's give a couple examples. Like John Deere. When you hear John Deere, you already know what I'm talking about, right?
Yep.
That's a
Yep.
brand that does tractors and does tractors well. When you hear Porsche, you think sports car, like
Yes.
muscle machine, two-door, this. One of the failures that they talk about in the book about Porsche is that Porsche wanted to like be like everyone else. So Porsche decided to make an SUV.
Okay.
So what it was they took their ultimate brand that was the sexy sports car. You know, if you had a Porsche, you were a baller. Like it was this. And they tried to be something they weren't. And what happened was it really affected who their brand was. Their sales went down and it just took momentum away from who they were called to be. And that's what that book talks about. A lot of great examples in that. And I think it was really challenging to just be true to your brand.
Yeah. Be true to yourself. That's so good. That's so good. Okay. Last thing, and we're gonna wrap here. How do we follow you? How do we find you? Where should we go? Send us. Tell us all where we can
Yeah.
experience the skills of Bobbito the chef. Where you at?
Like I do a lot of stuff on Instagram.
Yeah.
So at Bobbitothechef is my Instagram. And you can follow me there. Bobbitothechef.com is my website, you know. So pretty much when you have those two, you can find me, you know, Facebook, Twitter, all the other worlds of everything else happening. But yeah, I really
And
Just
you're doing Instagram lives, shows,
I'm
right?
doing Instagram lives. We go live, we DJ for fun, tune in live. You can listen, you can stream, plug it into your computer or TV at home and just have fun dancing in your living room, whatever you want to do. But yeah,
Yes.
we're just doing that, and that's been fun. It's been fun. It's been new, and I've had Tom, like seriously, like the first couple of times, like I failed, dude. Like I try to do all this stuff and I wasn't plugged in right. And I thought I was, and this and that. And people are in the comments, I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Turn it up louder. And so you're like freaking out. Like you're trying to like, plan all the, so, then I just had to get over it. I'm like, you know what? I'm an
Yeah.
amateur. I'm an amateur. If we have the ideas, like right now we're amateurs and we fail, hey,
So
we're only
good.
going to be better. So
Bobby, thanks for being on the show today. I certainly appreciate it. Appreciate you and our friendship.
yeah,
And
man.
thanks for being on.
Tom, thanks for having me. Appreciate you, bro.
Yeah.
And man, it's been fun. Great time talking. So I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah. Hey, that's this week's episode of the Cultivation Podcast. Be sure to check out all of our other episodes. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on anything. And check out our website, ourcultivatedlives.com. That's where you can find some of the books that we talked about today and other resources, show notes, and things like that so that you can keep investing into you. Until next time, I'm your host, Tom Hamill. Thanks for checking us out today. Be sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on all the incredible content we have coming out. Also, we'd love to hear from you in the comment section. We read those, we respond to those as we journey together in the cultivated life.